Hey gang, welcome back to Inverted Pursuits Laboratory, and today we are going to be making a scabbard out of leather for this knife I picked up. This is actually a scabbard I previously made that I'm just not quite happy with the way it looks and functions. I've actually cut the wrap I did on it because it's easy to get to with the blade, so I'm looking to completely redesign it and do a different style that will hopefully hold up a little better over the long run. Now this scabbard will actually be mounting to a bag I made in a previous video. And so this bag, I did all the tooling on it completely, manufactured it, forgetting what the word is, crafted it, all the lace work on it, attached the straps, but all of this I made from raw leather and had quite a time doing it. But I'd previously actually put a scabbard on this that didn't really work well for a knife, but ended up working really well for a pair of old school micrometers that go with the reenactment era that I use this for. But we're looking to get a little bit better scabbard attached to this bag. So I've gone ahead and I actually cut out a few pieces already just to start kind of prototyping the concept of what I wanted it to look like. So I took the blade, had traced it out on a piece of paper, and then figured out just about how much extra material I actually wanted around the edge of the blade so that I can tool it all together. And so there'll be 3 pieces of leather total in this scabbard. So this one will actually have, let's set that off to the side so I don't stab myself. This one will actually have the center section cut out so the blade perfectly slides into it. There will be a top plate, and then with the piece I haven't made yet is a bottom plate that will come up probably a little bit further, or maybe have something else attached to it to allow me to attach it to my bag. The current thought is to attach it on the strap in here so that it's kind of a little more hidden, out of sight, out of mind. The area within which I use this for reenactment, I play the role of a blacksmith, so I'm always carrying tools and other items and certain things such as knives and or protection items for the era. I try to keep out of sight in the way I do everything. Even though whenever I go to reenactment events, they are never actually, there's no knife or other implement in what I have. If they actually allow a knife, I always have it piece tied, so there'll be a zip tie on it. So I'll need to make sure I take into account a way to do that as well, because I want to make sure I'm safe and meet the rules of the event I'm at. So let's go cut the last piece of leather we need, start punching all the holes, do the tooling I'm gonna do on it. I'm thinking this front face is gonna get a basket weave tool, similar to how I tooled the front of the bag here, just kind of to keep the theme going. I may do some fancy tooling on it, but right now I'm thinking just a simple basket weave is about where I'm gonna wanna sit. But let's get to it. Okay, so I've taken a little bit of time and I drew out the base shape of my centerpiece on a piece of paper, and I extended it up a little ways, and then I took the strap I'm wanting to mount around of my bag and made sure I've got enough material on either side to punch small holes and be able to put a thicker piece of lace now I forgot the name of this, leather rope, basically to tie it on there. I may actually use another buckle like this to hold it on, but right now I'm thinking just 2 pieces of the rope and maybe just tie it around there. So we'll mess with that. I do have a knot up here that I keep there on a regular basis. So I've got a couple options on how I could attach this, but I do want to make it removable. My previous one was not removable and I really disliked that. So the goal is to actually keep it so that I can take this on and off the bag as needed, and if I need to do upgrades to it or replace it. Another thing I do want to mention is I'm not too worried what my edges end up looking like. I'm going to end up putting holes into the leather materials I go around and then doing lace stitch work very similar to what's on this scabbard and very similar to what's on the bag already. And that lacing ends up helping hide the imperfections in the leather. So personally, I like using lacing over stitching because then my edges of my leather don't have to be as clean. Also, there are some very fancy stitches you can do. And I'll actually show you the one I use on everything. It's one my fiance taught me. And I personally just love the way that stitching looks. It's just really nice when done right. We will also have to remember to stain all the parts before we start lacing, because as you can see on this one, I did not. And so it's got some little weird bits of unstained leather because I tried to stain it afterwards. So let's get a cutting. All right, gang, so I've now got all of the parts stained. I did some tooling on this one. I just did a couple different patterns, had some fun messing around. It won't be a piece that's seen a lot, but I think it'll look nice just at a distance, give it a nice texture. So I've also got my example I'm going to be going off of as I start this stitching. So the hardest part about starting a stitch, in my opinion, is making sure you start it correctly. And so I'm just do things a specific way, and I started that stitch upside down. Whoops. Nothing like starting right out the gate with an upside down stitch. Nope, did not get it flipped over. Come on, there we go. All right, now it's flipped over. So I want to leave an amount inside the body just to have something to stick to. All right, and then following my pattern. All right, so this stitch is complicated and I often make mistakes here at the start. So let's see if I can get this started simply enough. Here I am confusing myself again. So the pattern is this boy right here, and you can see we come up over, we loop back through, and then we continue our up and over. Starting it is a little bit of a mess, and I seem to have fallen prey to that mess. And I'm struggling to get it going. So we've actually done one loop, we've come down, over, and then the next thing we're going to do is actually loop back through our previous thread. Now that I've caught myself up as to where I am in the pattern. So we're actually going to step through the thread, not a hole. And it creates almost like a lock stitch. Or I don't know if that's actually the right term for that. But then we come down, we go through the next hole. And then I come back up again. Hopefully this is completely visible. So we've come through, we come through the stitch again. It's starting to look exactly how I want it to look. And I should be starting to get this like pattern appearing. The first couple threads always look really weird. They never quite look the way you want them to. And so sometimes you'll be a good 4 or 5 in and then you'll decide, nope, I don't like any of it, and pull it all back out. I did that dozens of times when I made my bag, which has the exact same stitch down it. I also have to do a little bit of work to make sure I maintain a centering on the stitch so it doesn't start to wander to one side or the other. And it actually looks like that's going to turn out really, really well. So let's get a few more stitches done. And then take a look. And every time I am doing this, I'm always verifying that I've got the lace facing the correct direction. The last thing I want is to have it all twisted. It just doesn't look nice. It also takes away from that clean aesthetic that you're often going for in leather working. So this is your first time doing leather working. That's just really something important to keep in mind. If you're experienced and just enjoying this, you can just ignore me, because you already know this. But all right. Well, I'm personally starting to get bored of this, so let's go ahead and just jump to it being done. All right, so we're back. I have got the lace done. It's been a couple of hours now. It actually took me 2 pieces of lace. It's not as well hidden as I would like. You can see it right here where I wove in a second piece of lace. I managed to get all the way from the start to right down here on the back side of where the blade will sit, and then laced in a second piece. And at the top, you can actually see I doubled up in this back hole and then slide the leather down along the side and pop it out, and then I cut it off. And it actually jumps back up inside there. And so if I really want this to stay, if I'm concerned about it coming out, a little bit of super glue right up here. I also may toss a dollop of super glue right in here. But as for fit and function, this was designed to have the blade sit in there like this. It is a very tight fit. When I get everything aligned, it goes in just fine. Oh, now you're going to be difficult, are you? There's a little bit to be done on fit and function. Some of the leather didn't quite sit in the exact spot, so I'll need to wear it in for use for sure. Just give it lots of cycles, get the lacing to sit in the right spot. But that's that. And so that is the holster I made for my knife. This will be attaching to a bag in the future. All right, so the bag is now, well, the bag now has the knife sheath attached to it with the knife in it. I actually decided to flip it around a little bit so it was a little bit easier for me to get to. It can still come all the way down and be nicely out of the way, but I can also pull it up if I want a different look. There's easy options for piece tying this on here. The zip tie can get right around the top if we want to. Like, there's very little problem there. And in my opinion, this really fits with the aesthetic I was going for on my bag and adds a nice little extra depth for use in reenactment up and coming this next year. So I look forward to getting to use this, and it was quite a bit of fun to make. So thanks for watching, gang. I hope you enjoyed watching how this knife sheath was made. If you're interested in seeing how I made this bag, it will be linked at the end of the video. I'll see you all in the next video.